Hello, this is Group 28's presentation on religion, specifically how the application of religion altered America and the effect it had on indigenous peoples. I will begin with indigenous peoples' spirituality before Christianity. So, before Christianity, indigenous people participated in polytheism, which is the act of worshipping many gods and spirits. They worshiped whatever god or spirit they needed assistance from at the time. Reasons for worshipping would include praying for successful hunts and bountiful harvests, along with victory in warfare, or smaller things like praying for sun or rain. They would directly worship the spirits by offering items as sacrifices. Many key indigenous practices and beliefs bear resemblance to ones we see in the current European time frame, and one such would be the concept of creation myths. Creation myths can be broadly defined as stories that explain how the world came to be. Creation myths were passed down as stories, and they have existed and developed for thousands of years, and while some details may have been lost to time, these stories have not diminished. Every tribe has their own separate belief of how the world was created, however, there are two widely known versions. The first widely known creation story originates from the Ojibwe tribe. Our story starts off with the Creator who created plants, animals, and people in his image and placed them on earth. Soon after, there was discourse within the harmony of life, and as a result, the Creator sent a great flood and everyone was killed besides the semi divine being called Weneboho. He seeks refuge at the top of a tree, and as the water stills, he asks the animals swimming near him to swim to the bottom and retrieve enough mud for him to build an island. All fail until the muskrat succeeds. Weneboho uses his powers to create an island out of the tiny bit of mud. Another version of the story has a turtle who offers to carry the island on his back. This story indicates that Ojibwe believed that people and animals needed to work together in the harmony to care for the land. The second widely known creation story originates from the Cherokee tribe. Before the creation of the earth, all the animals lived above the sky's vault, which is an arch made of rock. The water beetle went to see what was below the arch, but only saw water. He collected some mud from the seabed, which grew into an island and became the earth. While the earth was soft, the buzzard flapped his wings and created valleys and mountains. The animals came down to adjust the position of the earth, and they found the optimal position on the seventh try. The first people who migrated to the earth were a pair of siblings. The brother hit his sister with a fish and told her to have a child. So after every 7 days, she would have a new baby, until there were almost too many for the world to provide for, leading to women only having one child every year. Once again, this story indicates that animals have always played a key role in affecting the earth and people. So, what did these two creation myths have in common? It is the emphasis on the role of animals. They're considered kin and brethren. This belief can be closely linked to animism, which is a belief system where everything in nature possesses a spiritual essence. The reverence of the role of animals in the creation stories carries over to how indigenous people would treat them. They respected the animals by finding a use for each part of their body. Animals were a spiritual and physical aspect of their lives before Christianity, however, it was thoroughly diminished once Christianity was enforced. And here are my sources. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexa, and I will be talking about how God was the foundation of the New World and how colonizers conquered the Americas with that belief. When we hear the words religion, America, and history all in one sentence, I believe for many people, their brain automatically draws them back to Native Americans and the stories of their conversion. The plan for European colonizers and conquistadors to create and establish a new world, one nation under God, under any circumstance, that was one of the most significant historic events that has left a major impact even in today's society, who still continue to grapple with the consequences of cultural loss and trauma. Historical accounts show that Native Americans were often subjected to various experiences during the colonial period in North and South America in the name of religious conversion. So, these experiences, the methods used to introduce conversion on natives. In some cases, conversion was encouraged through peaceful means and persuasion, but in others, it was imposed through violence, forced labor, and the destruction of indigenous cultures and traditions. They were dehumanized and subjected to extreme cruelty by colonizers in order to prompt compliance and submission. They were forced to change their traditions in order to assimilate into modern society, often by publicly cutting their hair, changing their traditional clothing, and they were obligated to study Christianity and the Bible religiously in order to convert them into firm believers. And often they were also given sort of a trade in which natives would get their property confiscated and would lose their privileges, but would be promised that if they accepted the word of God, they would be granted the rights and um, privileges that all Americans had in society. So, consequently, because of this, most natives they had no other choice but to convert in order to live in peace and free from brutality. Now, prohibitions on the existing indigenous practices. In order to prove commitment to their religious enlightenment, Native Americans also faced various efforts of suppression, making it clear that European colonizers sought to replace indigenous cultures completely with European Christian ones. They had their existing indigenous practices prohibited in various ways. Colonizers often eradicated indigenous cultural expressions from being practiced. Indigenous lands and resources were seized, which also played a significant role in undermining traditional practices. And if they were faced with any retaliation, indigenous peoples were then subjected to forced labor under harsh conditions. To an extreme, retaliation would also lead to violent conflicts in order to subdue and suppress said resistance. And in the end, for them, for the colonizers, faith and duty justified it all. When Europeans and explorers, missionaries, when they arrived in the Americas, they sought to convert indigenous peoples to Christianity. And the Crown and the Catholic Church played a significant role in this process. While some missions operated with the best intentions, others exploited and mistreated Native Americans. Many indigenous people were forced to abandoned their traditional beliefs and practices in favor of Christianity, often under duress. And then conquistadors truly believed that it was their holy duty to spread the word of God as followers themselves, in all ways overlooking the brutality of their actions and justifying them, claiming it to be necessary and just, so that the savages they had encountered would be saved from damnation by following the rightful God. And that is the way in which they founded the America that we know today.
Hi everyone, this is Niveline Kaur. Let's go ahead and dive into the Native American perspective on colonists and impositions. It is evident that the colonists utilized violent methods to convert the Native Americans, which left a negative first impressions of the colonists and Christianity as a whole. The behavior of the colonists contradicted the teachings of Christianity, which was peace and equality, leading to skepticism on the Native American side. I thought it was quite hypocritical of the colonists to preach about peace and Christianity while using violent methods for conversion, such as burning villages down and killings of innocent people. The conversion process was not easily embraced by the Native Americans due to those reasons, and also because the colonists failed to educate them on Christianity. Their intentions came across as wrong, as their main focus during the conversion was not teaching Native Americans about the religion, but only to forcefully convert them. Chief Red Jacket states in his speech of 1805, "You have got our country, but are not satisfied. You want to force your religion upon us." His statement reflects the views of Native Americans as they perceived the colonists as greedy and power hungry. The effects navigating to worlds and preserving Native beliefs. Missionaries established permanent missions among Native American tribes during a period of rapid cultural change. Um, the culture of Native Americans and religious beliefs were greatly affected by possessions, trade, and Western good. The fur trade also significantly altered the way Native Americans interacted with animals, as their traditional hunting practices were changed. Catholic missionaries made efforts to replace and undermine Native American spiritual leaders like shamans. Moreover, Native Americans were forced to leave their sacred places because of the white settlers, impacting their religions, making it challenging to navigate two worlds and preserving some of their old practices. Most Native Americans were able to preserve their old beliefs and practice them along with Christianity, because after the conversion process, the colonists did not care if the Native Americans continued some of their old practices after the conversions, and as long as they were Christian and identified as Christians. The impact of missionary treatment on Native American acceptance of Christianity. In his speech of 1781, Chief Pocahontas reflects on the cruel treatment of the Native Americans and questions if the colonists are still capable of the horrible treatment, because even after giving in to the injunctions, the Native Americans still struggled for justice and equality, and they were never given the same opportunities for education, leadership, and inclusion in the Christian community. The mistreatment by white settlers continued and never fully stopped, meaning the colonists were not only cruel because of the intention of converting, they were cruel for money, they were cruel for their land, and for power over the Native Americans. Another quote by Chief Red Jacket is that we gave them corn and meat, they gave us poison, reflecting how the Native Americans viewed the colonists and viewed how they brought and introduced Christianity to them. Most of the Native Americans converted out of fear, which led to less embracement. I do believe if that the colonists had treated them better and truly taught them about Christianity, there would have been greater embracement, and the Native Americans had would have embraced Christianity fully. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Sumaya Hassan. Today I'm going to go over the presence, experience, and the legacy of Muslim slaves in America. These are the key points I'm going to go over. The arrival of Islam is quite a debated fact. Some people believe that Muslims in fact arrived in America before Christopher Columbus. When the first recorded Muslim was Estevanico, he came to America in 1527. There is an estimation that about 10 to 50% of the captivated African were slaves were in fact Muslims. They were forcefully converted to Christianity, but some of them still used to practice Islam secretly. The earliest recorded slavery revolt were also led by Muslims. There were 20 of them. They attacked the Spanish, freed Native Americans. Later on, the Spanish suspected more revolts, so they put a ban on practice of their religion, upcoming of any new Muslim slaves. Muslims have made significant contribution in making of America. They were highly skilled in map making. Their linguistic ability were also very high. They could speak at least two languages. They even have the ability to communicate with the people who did not speak their languages like Native Americans. The founding father, like Thomas Jefferson, was also aware of Islam. He himself owned a copy of Quran. The Muslim slaves were highly skilled in trading and plantation. Ayubi Sulaiman Diallo is one of those fortunate slaves who made it back to their land alive. But unfortunately, on his way to sell slaves, one day he himself got captured and sold. He belonged to an influential Fulbe Muslim family. He used to translate Arabic documents for the founder of British Museum. His letter was one of the reasons he got freed. Omar ibn Said was a scholar, teacher, and trader. He got captured at the age of 37. He was captured and tortured by his first owner, where he ran away from. Got recaptured by his second owner, who forcefully converted him to Christianity, but he used to still practice Islam. He wrote autobiography, manuscripts, and letters, which are one of the very few surviving documents written by Muslim slaves. Abdurrahman Ibrahima was the Prince of Fube. That's why he was known as the Prince among slaves. He was enslaved at one of the Mississippi plantation. He later on got freed by one of the white men that he had helped in Africa. About 300,000 to 800,000 Muslims were forcefully converted to Christianity. Some of them still used to practice Islam secretly. They were prosecuted if they were caught practicing their religion, but their practice or faith could not be condemned for too long. The unwavering resilience of Muslim slaves to preserve their religion has contributed to the rich diversity of America. Today, America is a country of freedom of faith, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion. Somewhere along the line, we're very thankful to the Muslim slaves who fought for their right to practice their religion. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Priscilla, and I'll be talking about how religion greatly influenced the formation of America. Some key concepts are the belief in manifest destiny, how it caused a trial of tears, which led to the formation of America. Despite the fact that the United States was founded on ideas of religious freedom, there have been many cases of intolerance, resulting in the targeting of many religious groups because of their beliefs. An example of this is manifest destiny. It was a propaganda that emerged in the 19th century meant to incite popular support from Christians. It stated God had approved the colonization and dominance of native lands, showcasing how property rights over territories are inevitably acquired by civilized and Christians, showcasing how belief in something justifies the theft of land in their eyes. This resulted in one of the most darkest events in American history. Since the beginning, Cherokee people made great attempts to keep white settlers out of their country. That wasn't enough, so they tried to modify their way of life to accommodate to the demands of American culture. But these great attempts were shot down in a matter of seconds due to the Indian Removal Act passed in 1830. Andrew Jackson wanted the Native Americans out because he believed in the concepts of manifest destiny. So he started to forcibly remove the indigenous tribes from their sacred land, which resulted in the trial of tears. Many perished due to the harsh conditions. Well, what was the Cherokee Indians' perspective on this? Well, many found the journey very difficult, and they were wondering why their experiences after adapting to Christianity. So John Ross, the Cherokee Indian chief, wrote a letter to the House of Representatives. Here's the key takeaway. In truth, our cause is your own. It's the cause of liberty and of justice. It's based upon your own principles, which we have learned from yourselves. We have also learned your religion. It just showcases how Cherokee people made great efforts to adopt American culture, and the comment based on your own principles went against Americans' values. Just showing how Americans think their ideas are superior, and they were not going to make any efforts to understand the Native Americans' religion, thus showcasing Native Americans will never be accepted. Thus, after the Trial of Tears, many people started to view religion differently. Since the beginning, Americans encouraged colonization, but now that the Native Americans are gone, they're using these areas for town development. So they're starting to grow economically. But many people are wondering how they gained so much land. So it started to question religion. Many people believe we should be free to express our religion and that Christian values are unjust. This just shows how, in order to advance, society needs to be inclusive and accept people of diverse backgrounds. But due to the belief in manifest destiny, the reason for forcing Native Americans out was because it was destined by God to take the land. This is totally false. But it just showcases how belief in something helped form what is now known as the United States today. But it also shows how religion isn't always positive, how under the guidance of missionaries, conversion was much more than learning faith, and how responses from Native Americans were deemed unchristian.